western quadrant of Arabia, and it listed that land as Madyan. He's saying Midian's over there, and if you can find Midian, you can find the region where Mount Sinai was, because that's where Moses was supposedly tending the flocks of Jethro.
Well, we found another book in the bookstore called The Mountain of God. This was by Emmanuel Nadi. He also mentions Jebel al-Lawz as being a potential site.
The Caldwells pack up and head for Saudi Arabia and begin to search for the highest mountain in Midian. Though free to travel through Saudi Arabia on work visas, no permission has been granted to enter the government-imposed forbidden zone around Jebel al-Lawz.
The mountain peaks seemed extraordinarily high to me, and even the very top of Jebel al-Lawz was even enshrouded in cloud from time to time. That's how high it appeared, and that was my first reaction that, gosh, this is so much different than the picture that came to my mind in St. Catherine's, the traditional site of Mount Sinai.
We're at the 4,000 foot level. These mountains are way up there, another 4,000, 5,000 feet above us.
The altar with petroglyphs is their first discovery.
We came around the front side of that and didn't really see anything, but as you go around to the back side, the cows started becoming very visible.
My daughter was there, and she says, "Dad,
there's 12 cows."
Okay, good.
And she was only like 8 years old at the time.
They came out of Egypt. They would have been knowledgeable of the worship of this pagan idol called Apis or Hathor. When they said that Moses is not coming down from the mountain after he was up there for 40 days and 40 nights, they reverted back to their pagan ways.
Moses asks Aaron, "I've come down the mountain, what on earth has happened here?" And Aaron says, "I took the ornaments from them, I took their gold, and I put it into the fire, and out popped this calf." But he makes it very plain that there was a single calf. "I built the altar, I put it on the altar, and I turned to the people and I said, 'These be thy gods,' plural, 'O Israel, which have led thee up out of the land of Egypt.'" Something struck me very strange about that, because if you put one golden calf atop an altar, why would you say, "These be thy gods, O Israel," if you've got one golden calf? Did he make more than one golden calf? You know, it puzzled me for a good length of time.
Like Bob and Larry, the Caldwells look for the scriptural indicators.
In studying some of the Hebrew, it says that Aaron fashioned the calf with a graving tool. It literally says "to engrave," as in something we would engrave a name on today. That sounds very strange, because you mold something that's molten. You don't engrave it. But the way you built an altar in Egypt was to, in relief, cover it with gods, and then put a chief deity, a statue of the chief deity, on it. If a golden calf were to have been put on the top, that scripture would not contradict itself. It would absolutely perfectly fit. And he would have placed it atop and said, in fact, "These be thy gods, O Israel, which have led thee up out of the land of Egypt."
When you go there, you can read the Bible like a map. And it says, this is here, then you go forward 10 steps, and this is here. For lots of people our age, you have to smack them in the face for them to believe something.
Most of today's generation doesn't want to accept things that they can't see and touch and feel. You know, when you show them something like the Bible and what it says, you know, this isn't just a story that somebody's trying to teach you in Sunday school. This is something real, and here's the proof.
The bow, too. Looks like a person with a bow and arrow.
Where's the bow and arrow?
You know, move something, get a clear shot.
It's hard not to believe.
You could take thousands of theologians and put them in a room and have them read the Bible, and not one of them are going to come away saying the same thing about what it says. But you can take a 4 or 5-year-old child and tell them the story, and they'll understand it.
The significance is finding anything Egyptian in Saudi Arabia. And on top of that, no archaeologist ever has found a scintilla or a trace of anything at St. Catherine's. Nothing's been found there. Yet in Saudi Arabia, we find something that doesn't belong there. Egyptian artifacts in Saudi Arabia.
The top of Sinai is very black, darkened rock. It has a appearance of, in some light, coal.
It's extremely interesting because the closer you get up toward the blackened peak, you can see where the red granite folds down and the black begins, and it's a dividing line that is like night and day.
In some light, it actually has a blue tinge to it. And one of the verses in Scripture talks about the top of the mountain as if it were a sapphire stone.
Especially toward noonday, it gets a shiny patina on it to where it looks like you're walking around on obsidian. It is literally that shiny and that black.
Basically, there are three different kinds of rocks. These are igneous rocks, those that are formed from volcanic activity. Then there are sedimentary rocks, which are formed under the oceans, under the lakes, and the riverbeds, and so on. And then there's a third variety called metamorphic rocks. And metamorphic rocks are those that are recrystallized under temperature and pressure conditions. As a matter of fact, interestingly enough, when I looked at the thin section, it told me that it is a metamorphic rock.
When you stand there and you look all the way around you, there are convoluted mountain ranges going on.